blood, swords, bolts. Maybe a hint of magic and faith here and there. A pint of social divides, some power struggles, or maybe even a full warfare. These are many, if not all, of the things that we get on anything rooted to the Dark Ages, where faith dictates knowledge and blades furnish decrees. Hey guys, Anime-kun here. In today's video, we're going to talk about top 10 medieval anime. Not bringing a knife to a gunfight is mostly about maximizing range options available rather than relying too much on melee, but in this medieval world of fantasy Europe in a country called Brune, swordsmen are filled mostly with pride and frowning upon bowmen as cowards who can't wield a blade with honor. Such to the extent that it stretches even to an earl of the name Togravermid-born. Then there's the problem about a neighboring country called Jted invading and annihilating Tigra's army through the leadership of Eleonora Voltaria, one of the Vanitas who are equipped with overpowered dragon-carved weapons. Elin decides to spare Tigra since he decides to fight till the last arrow instead of fleeing. Then comes her strangest of all orders, which is a bold possession and establishment of a de facto alliance with a single statement of "be mine." And that's only the start of being dragged into multinational conflicts and that of other war maidens. This one is more historically filled with samurai warlord stories from the Sengoku period, only that it has added fictional elements to accentuate the original stories, whilst the personalities and interpersonal relationships between historical figures are also modified. Sengoku Basara follows the heated rivalry of Yukimura Sanada and Masamune Date, having to put their differences aside in order to prevent the rise of Nobunaga and save Japan from his reign of tyranny, as he not only has the resources to conquer all of Japan, but decides to expand those influence and strength that he just cannot be ignored. This This anime tackles another classic theme in usual medieval plots, which is revolutions, battles between the masses and the elite. Only this time around, Hakuro is forced into it with having no choice but to protect the village that is his only known link to this world. Originally, he has no memories, much even a name for himself, and just wakes up in Aruru's home after being found injured in the woods. Even his overall look is mysterious. While the villagers have large ears and tails, Hakuro has neither but instead has a mask that he can't even remove. And just as he adjusts and gets to be a part of the villagers' lives, the revolution against the emperor begins, and the fires of war eventually gets fanned towards the direction of his new home, of which he must do everything to protect all, while trying to untangle the threads of his past. Being the son of a great and powerful king is no easy task, considering how one must match the greatness of the predecessor. Such is the case of Arslan, who is the son of King Andragoras III, ruler of the kingdom of Pars, and is currently at war with Lusitania. Different in many aspects and still far from the military prowess his father has, he sets out to prove his mettle at his first chance on the battlefield. While he was away, however, the king was betrayed by one of his most trusted officials, and the capital of Ecbatana was besieged. This forces him to run with a respected general with him by the name of Darien. Being the prince, his enemies are not just the ones seeking to occupy the kingdom, but that of other potential invaders as well. But his greatest problem might just be the mastermind of Lusitania's ploy, a mysterious man behind a silver mask. Admittedly, this is a stretch to the rules, since this show is not just on pre-World War medieval stuff, but is a blend of different points in history converging to a single battlefield as its main plot. Still too good that it deserves a spot in this list. Toyohisa Shimazu, rearguard of his fleeing troops, was critically wounded while holding the line, but just as it seems as if death was the only thing left, he finds himself in a strange white hallway with hundreds of doors and gets pulled into a world completely unlike his own. It was a fantasy world with many creatures of fantasy and strangely, warriors of different eras who were thought to be dead. Quickly acquainted with Nobunaga and Yoichi, he learns of the unrest throughout the continent and that they are summoned as drifters who would fight against another faction called Ends, those responsible for the empire's creation, and are also trying to annihilate drifters. Inevitably, the drifters side with the persecuted demihumans as the Ends stand with the empire they created as matters of political unrest will just be resolved by whichever faction still stands in the battle between drifters and Ends. Being a slave in the kingdom, dreams of taking the top spots of the elite are often dreams that are laughed at. However, in warfare, strength is mostly a great factor, and the lines between classes become blurred. In the kingdom of Qin, Li Xin is a war-orphaned slave who decides to train his strength with a fellow slave friend Piao who shares the dream of being a great general of the heavens. Though even if the same roots are shared, different paths still emerge as Piao gets recruited by a retainer of the king. A coup occurs and Piao, half dead, returns to Xin with a mission that will lead him to a meeting with China's young king, Ying Zheng, who bears uncanny resemblance to Piao. From there comes the blood-stained road towards glory in the history of the Seven Warring States. Princess Yona.
でっかい庭とでっかい門の豪華な屋敷だ。いいとこの綺麗な姉ちゃんを嫁さんにしてたくさん楽器を作り数えきれねえほどの召使いを抱える。そして
Princess Yonat is living a peaceful and lavishing life sheltered from all the problems in the kingdom, with her only worry being what to do every single day. All things dreamy gets shattered when the person she admires too well, Su Won, betrays and murders her father, placing her life in peril. Her only choice was escape through the help of Son Hak, her childhood friend and bodyguard, and jumping from one place to another, discovering the problems that seemed non-existent to her before. Poverty and strife line the streets almost everywhere, and despite her eyes and feelings being opened, she never can do anything about it while on the run. The only hope she follows is that of a legend about 4 dragon warriors following their king who shares the rare reddest of hair similar to hers.
冷えるね、ここは。
山沿いですから。
あの頃は私、城の外がこんなに寒いってこと知らなかった。 One of the determining traits for a king is indomitable will as shown in their power. In the age of plentiful kingdoms, there exists mysterious labyrinths called dungeons that are said to be the work of magi, rare magicians who help people build their own empire by leading them towards the dungeons that houses jinns, rulers of the labyrinth, that offers their immense power to the one successfully conquering their dungeon and dubbing them as potential king candidates that will not rule an empire but the world. Aladdin, a young magician, explores the world after being finally free from isolation and is accompanied by Ugo, a jinn that he can summon from his flute. He meets Alibaba Saluja after causing destruction to a local merchant's cart and in order to pay the debt, decides to try their luck on the nearest dungeon which would be their first step to an adventure of the truth behind the world and why dungeons came into place. 嘘つきだね、お兄さん。ちゃんと本当のこと言えるじゃないか。お金でもお酒でも買えないもの。 もっと僕に教えてよ。
王子を引き受けましょう。行くのじゃ、チャグム。
In the ages where science and technology are nothing more than a fantasy, calamities are often attributed to something spiritual like religion, spirits, or demons. The same case exists here, where people believe that slaying a water demon would save the land from drought as it did in the ancient myths from the first emperor. The only problem is that the said water demon is within the emperor's son, Prince Chagam. This made him target of various assassination attempts as even the emperor ordered him to be sacrificed for the empire until a mysterious mercenary of the name Balsa saves him from death's grasp. Balsa is then tasked by Chagam's mother to protect the prince, a task that he accepts bound by a sacred vow she once made. Aired in 1997, the anime was the first adaptation of the long-running manga that started way back in 1989 and is one of the classics in everything medieval and messed up combined. The story follows the mercenary of the name Guts, and he was recruited into a group by Griffith, leader of the Band of the Hawk. And we all heard one way or the other about the demonic horrors within the whole Berserk story, which does not hold back even the slightest bit in using the darkest of tales and acts in their storyline. Haven't heard of it? Well, better get on your preferred platform and start watching or reading the tale of a man struggling to find his own path, knowing that his hands helped raise another's quest in their lust for power.
お前らの親玉にことづてを頼みたい。黒い剣士が来た。それだけでいい。
That's it for today's share of thankfully outdated lifestyle from ages past. Got more medieval anime to share? Don't hesitate to tell us in the comments below. Thankfully we have that instead of waiting for couriers to deliver your messages. Also don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so that we can all help muster an army and march on the walls of those who dare not subscribe and have them join us. Or maybe just watch more anime together. We're not tyrants who would do that, or are we?